So, hello, morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Welcome to another edition of Soccer Hub Talks. As you know, Soccer Hub is an online platform for soccer, for coaches and also analysts and everybody related with football, scouts also, and for all the ones that wish to learn a bit more about the different aspects of the game. Before we start, please introduce some information about yourselves in the chat box and click on the like button to see if the audio and the video are okay. Remember, this is a live webinar, so feel free to ask your questions to our guests. So don't forget, it's the last week of the course of the month, also the monthly campaign that we have with a special 50% discount on the Soccer Analyst Level 1 online course. Visit our page and to find out more. So today's subject is Dutch soccer and or football, as you prefer. And to talk about it, we had with us the great Theo Caat. So Theo is a UEFA A youth licensed football coach, the owner of Dutch Can Soccer, and former Vitesse, FC Twente, FC Groningen, and Aberdeen soccer player. So welcome, Theo, and thanks for accepting the invitation in such a kind way and straight away. And it's a pleasure to have you with us. So
Thank you. Thank you, Nuno.
Okay. Is everything okay with you, first of all? Yeah?
Yeah.
So all good? Can you hear me well?
Yeah, no problem.
It's perfect. So thanks for being here. Everything is okay with you. So let's start. So can you tell us a bit more, please, about your journey inside football so far, since you started to play until now? And just to tell you that I remember you playing.
It's a long story, when you're getting older. The story gets longer.
Yes, I'm getting older also because I watched
and by getting older, a lot of changes are introduced by all those football associations. I mean, when I started football, I wasn't even allowed to play on six. I had to be six. I come from a little village, and there I played for my first, say, 6 years. And then I went up to an higher level team. They played in the, as we say in Holland, it was at that time the third division. So you had the Premier League, the first division, and then you had the second division, and they were playing in the second division. So I was 16 when I made my debut there. So I played 2.5 years as an amateur at the highest level of amateur football at that time in Holland. And at the age of 19, I had a couple of chances to move on for professional football, and I decided to make my first step towards FC Twente in 1984.
Okay.
Then you come in a different environment. I mean, it's not only about winning anymore. It's kind of getting money, and you have to you perform. The more you perform, and that's another thing. If you just started playing a soccer and being a professional, you don't even know about those kind of games. That's what you learn afterwards.
Yeah.
The better you play, the higher your market goes. And I was only interested in the first couple of years in just enjoying the games and winning games. I wasn't even involved in any money issues or that. And of course, you had an agent, but it's all different now than it was in the mid 80s. And I had 3 good years at FC Twente. And but I had some problems with the last manager. I mean, he wanted to sign me a contract or give me a contract for 3 years, but I resigned it because I thought I played on a higher level. I played more than 70, 80 games for the first team as a starting 11. And so I said, no, well, we have to talk about this, and then did a bit nasty, and I said, "Well, okay, I'm going to leave this club and see what's happening." And then I decided to go to first division, Veendam. With some good players. I mean, a lot of players who you had FC Groningen was playing in the in the Premier League. Say we talk about Premier League, then first league, and a lot of football players, mostly the oldest of FC Groningen, went to Veendam. So I was one of the youngest, but my teammates were well mid 20s, early 30s. So. I only played 1 year for Veendam. I was semi-professional at that time.
Okay.
And I had a good season. I scored about 20 goals or so. And I was a captain. I was 23. And then FC Groningen knocked on the door. And I was lucky that in the first year, my first year in FC Groningen, we played a really good football. We had a good team. All the 3 years, we had a really good team. Probably one of the best teams I ever played in. We could have been champions in my last year, but we just made some mistakes at the end. But starting from the first, I mean, when I arrived there, we played in the first year European Cup football as well.
Okay.
And over the 3 years, we played every 3 year European football. So that was a good thing. I mean, my first European Cup game, and at that time I have to explain. I mean, anybody who plays decent level in kind of league, or in Germany, or in England, or in Belgium, or in Holland, or in Denmark, or Sweden, anybody is allowed can play European games. But at that time, you had only 3 or 4. You had to be on the top 4 of your league to enter into the European Cup games.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. That's what my former that year before we entered. They won the playoffs, and our first game was against Atletico Madrid.
Okay.
So it was a good game.
What year it was that?
That was in 1987. Was it 84?
87
or 88? Could be 88.
88. Was Paul Futre in there already or not?
Yeah, Futre was the striker together with Baltasar.
Okay, Futre, I had a chance to interview him. Good friend. Great
oh, well, give my regards.
I will for sure. We keep in touch. He's a great.
He should remember the game. I mean, I tell you, hey, in Groningen, we had a lucky goal, and they just played on our half, and they missed some chances. They were far a better team.
Yeah.
We managed to stay on the 1-0, and then we went to Madrid.
Yeah.
And we had a good coach, and he could read the game really good. But after 1 minute of play, they got a penalty, so they scored one each.
Yeah.
So the game, it was a level game again. And in the mid half of the first half, I scored the equalizer. And the second half, I mean, at halftime, we had so many injuries because we were walking on our toes. We had to struggle, and we had to fight to keep going, and to just match the level of Atletico Madrid, because they were far a better team. But it was a mentally disaster. It was I could say a mentally war.
Yeah.
Against a team who played better football. I mean, I can remember that one of our best players, our captain, he had a broken toe at half time. So they put him 3 needles in. Those kind of things happens in European Cup games at that time already. I mean, I don't know how it goes now. With nutrition and all those kind of things, every get better. But after a game, we took a glass of beer and celebrated victory. And because we won 1-0 in Groningen, they scored second half 2-1, and it was just attacking. But luckily we survived. So we beaten Atletico Madrid was a really good performance from us.
That's great. And then to finish
So
this part about your career as a football
yeah,
player, so
yeah.
you also played in Scotland. I can
Scotland,
still,
Aberdeen, 3 years. Yeah.
yeah, I can still hear there a bit of accent, Scottish accent.
I and we.
Yeah. You still have it. So after so
I
many
still
years,
have, yeah, I still have communication with some friends in Scotland.
okay, that's why. Yeah, that's
So
great.
I'm, yeah, we started well when I came there with Ali McLeish as a captain. I mean, Jim Battle midfield, Scott Booth, Ian Jazz, Hans Schillows, Peter van Ven, Theo Snelders.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stuart McKinney, international, played for more than 50 international games. Brian Grant.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of international players. And the
And we
first
cannot
time was,
forget that we
hmm?
cannot forget. Sorry to interrupt you. We cannot
Yeah,
forget that the best coach in history, it comes from Aberdeen. Sir
yeah,
Alex, Sir Alex Ferguson.
Ferguson,
Yeah,
Ferguson,
of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
So,
I actually came from Motherwell.
in Motherwell, yeah. But then he started there his career. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
As a
and
so, yeah.
yeah, McLeish said, Ferguson said, well, as soon as possible, you get the ball in the box.
Yeah, it was the time. Yeah, that time was like that. So
Yeah,
yeah. So let's talk a bit more about like the today's subject,
yeah,
hopefully about Dutch football. So and just tell us a bit more about also about your company that you have, that
yeah,
Dutch Can Soccer. If you can tell
yeah.
us a bit more about it, why did it started, and also what you do exactly.
Yeah, well, I've after I finished my game, uh, I took my license with
Yeah.
it's quite a different story. I'm a kind of a complicated man who's always. I mean, I argue on. I'm not arguing about. I mean, if you want to argue about a couple of things, and you have to argue, even coaches, assistant coaches, because you have to keep yourself sharp.
Yeah.
And if you're afraid to say what you're thinking, I mean, you're not allowed. You're not on the right place. I
Yes.
mean, and I've got a vision about how to play football. I have a vision about how to build up a team. I have a vision about development of youth players, and so I started UEFA A, and I
That's fine.
completely,
Yeah.
finished. I started with the under 13s. I went to the under 17s, under 19s, and all the boys who came with me from the under 13s just came along. So I have a couple of international players and who plays in the Dutch squad and all over Europe actually.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then I had when I was the coach of the under 19s, I had a bit problems with management,
Okay.
and so they decided to put me on another level, not being a coach of the under 19s anymore, because the under 19s had to work strictly with the first team. And one of those coaches had a kind of personal disrespect for me because I always told them, well, that's my opinion. If you want to have an opinion, if you want to have a discussion, you're going to talk about opinions, not about how do you say that? Who's the higher guy? I mean, if you talk to the director,
Yeah.
you have to be sure that you're allowed to give your opinion.
Yeah.
If the director thinks he knows better, then there's no structure or no belief, and you don't have to do. You don't need to discuss anymore.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I always when I had a discussion with people who are in the management and higher in the management, I said, okay, we can have a discussion now, but we're gonna make a discussion about arguments. Are you allowed to about arguments? I come with my arguments, you come with your arguments. and then we can get the discussion. But if you think now that my arguments are less important than your arguments because you're in the management,
Yeah.
well, I'm not gonna talk.
Yeah, of course.
I move away now. So
one
you,
thing
you
is one
huh?
thing is to have respect for hierarchy, the other thing is like obviously everybody can be can give the opinion in a football club, and obviously there is respect, but it's also good, someone that is in management also to give that freedom, and to allow for people to take also their decisions. But yeah, anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. But people from management, they have to trust their coaches.
Yeah, for sure, if you hire them,
You trust them. And if
yeah,
I come with an argument and he doesn't like it, then we're gonna make a discussion about it.
yeah.
And he is the final one who makes the the decision.
Decision
Simple.
completely.
What
Yeah,
discuss? What opinion I have is not important anymore. I try to explain it. What's the best thing to do? If he still have another opinion about my explanation,
of course.
okay, then my job is done. Then he is in charge, and he will implement the situation how to build up the youth system and until the under 23s. That's not a problem, but at the end of the FC20 situation, I was just getting ignored and well. So I left, and then I became the highest a coach of the highest amateur teams for 4.5 years.
Okay.
In between, I also was the technical director of the youth academy at FCM, and I trained the under 19s. And then FC20 came back, and they asked me if I would be interested in coaching the under 15s. I said, well, that's the only team I didn't coach. So I coached every team in the youth level. Let me coach the under 15s because it's a different age group where you get the puberty involved. So it's really interested for me to handle all those kind of issues with puberty and you know how puberties are. Thinking about I'm the best of the world, and
We all been there. We've been there many years ago.
Yeah. And it took me a year, and then I became the coach of the reserves of FC20. So I was in direct contact with the management of the first team of FC20, and that was until a year and a half ago. And then they changed the structure of youth football in Holland, and so the FC20 decided not to move on with the under 23 team. And so they just said, well, okay, from the Dutch Football Association, you've got now every year a team.
Okay.
So you go from under 8, under 9, under 10, under 11, under 12 until under 18. And from under 18, you step to the under 21.
Okay.
From under 21, you step into the first team. So the reserves, they stopped with the reserves, FC20. There are a lot of teams. You've got young Ajax, young PSV, young Utrecht, all those kind of teams. You've got a couple of others who still have a decent reserve team.
Yeah.
And play on a higher level. The only thing I don't like is that we should do it in a German way. We've got in the first division 4 or 5 under 20, say the reserves of the first teams of Ajax, PSV, Utrecht, AZ. And it's not fair because the one week they play with 11 guys and on the bench, but the other week they play with completely different team.
Yeah.
So it isn't set up that the reserves should play. They should pick in. They should pick in 16 players, because the first team, if they got injuries or suspensions, they put the first teams into the reserves.
Yeah.
That's allowed. So if you get that at that moment you play for the first with your own team against young Ajax with a lot of first team players,
Yeah, it's not fair.
it's not fair.
No.
It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. So
No.
my suggestion, I've had many discussions with other football players, of other football coaches as well. I mean, you should go to the German situation, where you have the reserves of, say, Bayern Munich to Schalke to. They only can go to the third division.
Yes, that's true. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm in Germany, so I'm in Germany. I'm a scout here in Germany. So
All
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the fact. Yeah, here the
Yeah.
result teams
And that's the maximum, and then you've got the second and the Bundesliga, or the first in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
So I think that's more fair, and I
It's
think
more fair. Yeah, that's true.
should be introduced in Holland as well.
Okay, that's great. That's an improvement. I was thinking a few days ago actually about that in Portugal, because I'm from Portugal, and it should be the
Yeah.
same. You see the reserve team of Porto or Benfica, they play in the second division, and it's not so fair, you know. Here,
No.
for example, I'm based in Berlin. The Hertha second team plays on the fourth
Aye.
division. You know,
Aye.
like Dortmund plays on the third
Yeah.
division. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's much more fair, like you said. So yeah, that's a way. So can you go a bit more further and tell us a bit more about your company, what you do exactly, how did you decide to start it?
Well, I just started. I mean, I'm always a training. So if people were asking me for, Theo, can you help us out? And small teams, big teams, I mean, whatever. I say, okay, all right. I make a training session, and how many players have I got, this and that, and I stay the whole day there.
Yeah.
And in 2016, it started already earlier. It started in 2012 when I was invited by a company to go to Canada.
Okay.
To do some youth camps. And I met a friend there, and he did ask me to work together with him in 2015. So I went to 2015 and 2016. We went to Scotland, and we did some summer camps and winter camps.
Okay.
And my friend had some personal problems. So after 2016, 2017, it's the only thing I did was getting players over to Holland for trials.
Okay.
And organizing summer camps for amateurs, OPDL teams to come over and do a training camp in Holland or Germany and in Belgium. So that was my main core at that time. But I mean, then you had COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, I had everything organized. My first training session, 2 weeks from Brexit, football, everything organized. We had 4 or 5 games. We stayed for 2 weeks. We stayed a couple of weeks in Germany, in England, in Holland. They had 4 games against professional soccer players, soccer teams in Holland. And 2 days or 3 days before they would come over, COVID. So that's 2 years gone.
Yes.
You couldn't do anything for 2 years.
No.
And then I was thinking,
we all in there also.
Huh?
Everybody was in there.
Everybody. Yeah. I'm not the only one, I know.
Yeah.
It was a struggle. I wasn't really struggle, but I mean, and then I decided to, because I come from this area where I live now, and looking around in these small clubs, I mean, they can't even help it, but they're destroying the kids.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I decided to start my own company. It's called Dutch Can Soccer. and it's it's Dutch. It's can, so Canada,
Yeah.
and it's soccer. So Dutch can soccer. I mean, it's a
Okay.
bit of a combination.
Yeah.
And so I started last year that company first with That's Can Soccer, and I've got now my own company with TTC Academy. And at the moment, we've got 4 sessions in a year, 6 weeks. So two sessions before the summer and 2 sessions after the summer, and we do training sessions on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I'm trying to, in every course, which last 6 weeks, I'm trying to get 2 friendly games. And I've got kids from under 9 until under 13. And I just started last 2 weeks ago, I started my elite academy, where I do the scouting. So
Okay.
it's not the case that they just can invite themselves to play and train in the team. At the moment, I've got only 7,
Okay.
because I think the others aren't good enough to train on the level I'm expecting to, and so that's step by step. So I'm hoping to have on, and at the end my football camps keep going on, and within the football camps I can do my scouting because they come from all the little villages around my area.
Yeah.
And I hopefully in December or so I've got 16 players who will be my first official TTC Academy team in a certain age group, and I'm and then it's training and 1 week a day again. That's my plan so far, and we provide other things as well. Of course, I mean
Yeah.
I'm coaching the coach. What I do, I've got small groups when people
Okay.
come in, and with 5 or 6, can we do some training sessions? I just organized. Uh, uh, how do you say that? Well, I'm gonna work together with an amateur team here in this area, especially for the youth teams.
Okay.
So they will start after the summer for a whole year, where I will be involved for 20 or 30 training sessions or days at nights, and then giving training sessions and coaching the coaches. What I'm gonna do then, and it's all about okay. You have to do you have to make a plan. I mean, you know how it goes with trainer, how to make a plan for a training session. I mean,
Yeah.
first you have to write down. Okay, you analyze the game. What went wrong? What went good? Okay, what's your main target? Where do you want to train on? Or what is good or what is bad? I mean, and most of the time it's helping each other as well. If you
Yeah,
train
for
on
sure.
what is good, you can also. I mean,
Yeah.
you train both sides. If you train attacking, you train defending as well because you want to make the attackers as much as difficult
Yeah.
towards. So you're training both sides, but you have to make a plan. What do I want to train the kids? And these coaches don't even have a plan. They go on the pitch and
Yeah.
okay, what shall we do? I mean, if you do a passing game, a possession game with 12 years or 10 years players who can't even dribble with the ball, you're
Yeah.
doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
first you have to be the ball in control of the ball.
Of course. That's the first
That's
principle.
just normal dribble, and you can do that in many sides. I mean,
Yeah.
or many situations. I mean, you can do a
Yeah.
4 against 4 with a dribble situation, or you can do with cones or the shooting and those kind of
Yeah.
things. as long as they have success. The kids has to have success.
Yeah.
And it's also about positive coaching. That's really important. I mean, I've
And
seen
enjoying, it's also important enjoying in that age.
enjoying. If you get positive coaching, I'm always a positive coach. Even if they do it wrong, I say, well, next time better. You learn something now because now you know how to not to do it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's
We
just
are,
repeat, and repeat.
yeah,
And that's the first step you have to do with kids of 8, 9 years, 10. And
yeah,
then, I mean, then the passing comes and it all just develops as a flow into, and I mean, you've got talented players, you've got, well, players
yeah.
want the talent and they've got some problems. I mean, but even for them, it's important that they enjoy the game.
Yeah, that's very important, and of course, and you need to be on all sides of the game and all the players and the personal part also. So let's move on a bit to talk a bit more
Yeah,
about Dutch football in general. Okay, if we can
yeah,
go straight to the point, like so of course grassroots football has a lot of tradition in the Netherlands, and with the
yeah,
strong influences from names like Johan Cruyff, obviously it's
yeah.
and Rinus Michels also. In your opinion, does this historical heritage sometimes also makes some problematic for it's a bit problematic for new coaches that want to implement new methodologies, or do you think it's not a problem?
No, I think still I'm a Rinus Michels fan.
Okay, yeah. So but sometimes,
I mean, I've read this book, and it's
yeah,
really funny that I mean, with coaching as well. If you go, the situation should be the same. There's a line, and he said, well, if you go with the kids and I mean, if I the social thing, I mean, life is completely different. When I was young, I had to go with my bag to the training, and we had to put on shirt on and take a shower after the training session. The coach do would be talking in the dressing room. It's not now. They just come on the training ground and go to the. But they kids need structure. But I mean, that's what wanted to say about Rinus Michels. If you take your dog in the car and you go to the forest, if you open the door, what do you think the good dog does?
yeah, of course you're gonna run away. Yeah,
It runs away, runs away, runs away.
yeah,
So that should be with kids as well. So the biggest mistake is if you let them train, let them run away, let them run away, let them do their own thing first, and then it's likely you try to control a bit. But just the 5-10 minutes of the game isn't that really important. They're full of energy and adrenaline. Like the dog who comes out, he takes a rest as well. He gets used to the situation.
yeah,
And that's what I do with my academy as well. I mean, when I start at 3 o'clock, the boys comes most of the time at 2:45, and I've got 20 balls, and I've got everything set. And then I just tell to the boys, please don't ruin my training organization. But all the balls, they just fly over and fly
yeah,
over, and they have a laugh, and I just let them.
yeah.
I
That's
give them
interesting.
just 15 or 10 minutes of freedom.
Yeah, that's interesting because you also allow them to be themselves, and you also allow them to take decisions. So that's very important also in the
Yeah.
development of the player. That's I agree 100% with you. They have fun, they see that they can take decisions, and after, of course, they will follow the
Yeah,
instructions.
yeah, and then we have a talk. I mean, but the first 10 minutes, I always let them do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic.
And if you
So
want to kick the ball in the tree, just let them.
yeah, for sure. So a bit talking about the generations.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the future Dutch generation of players that are being cooked right now?
I couldn't hear you, Nuno.
Okay, yeah, repeat again. So what are your thoughts about the newest generations now that of players that are coming up now?
No, who are just now in the national team.
Yeah, the ones that are coming now in the youth teams to the next few
Well,
years to
they
arrive to
have
the
they have a good. I mean, Holland always have had good youth teams,
always.
uh,
Yeah,
but they leave too soon to England, France, or
yeah,
so. The last 4 or 5 years of education on the Dutch style they missed because they had 6 years of Dutch style, and they
yeah,
go to England or Germany or Spain or Portugal, Italy, and it's a completely different development situation over there.
yeah,
It's logical because if a team of Juventus or Benfica or Porto or Sporting, I don't know,
Portugal it's hard.
because you're Portugal, I mean I have to name
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
teams because
But
I can't miss your favorite
we cannot
team.
afford the best Dutch players because you have great players and we cannot pay for them. Like we had we had we had history with players, especially Sporting. I would say with Bas Dost recently,
Yeah,
with players like Steen Schaars and other players like Belarus, but they are already in a stage that
yeah, yeah.
career where they cannot make it bigger than
You
that.
should
And it's
you should have an eye on Ramis Serougi from FC Twente.
okay. You can tell me, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We'll swap some interesting, yeah. We'll talk about
I
scouting and
mean, it's that's another thing. I mean, the young players who are really good are leaving too soon,
yeah,
in my opinion. I mean, you probably have that in every country.
yeah. It's happening. Yeah,
Every country has its own style, and I think changing
yeah,
style at the age of 16, 17 makes it a bit different. But I mean,
yeah,
you in
yeah,
the early days when Rinus Michels and Johan Cruyff had the team, we were all Dutch. They were all Dutch, and they played in the Dutch league.
yeah,
It was the same in Germany and in England. I mean, you had in England there was kick and rush, and if you
yeah,
wanted to keep the pace, I mean, you have to make a run. You have to run the marathon within 2 hours, otherwise you're
yeah.
destroyed.
It's,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's,
when I was 16, I played against Southampton on the 16. We
yeah,
lost 5-0. And it had nothing to do with football. I mean, they
no,
were that fast.
yeah,
I mean, a completely different
yeah,
style of football. So that's really getting better. That in this area there are a lot of tournaments. I mean, a lot of players play over the world now. That's the situation now. I mean,
yeah,
when I was as an example, I was the coach of the under-19s of FC Twente. I had two from Norway. I had one from Poland. I had one from England. I had one from Hungary. I had one from Belgium.
yeah. It's not Belgium. It's tradition because it's next door. But yeah, what you said is completely true. Even Ajax have players from everywhere, even the US
And
and
it's
everywhere.
just
And
business, eh? That's because of the business situation.
yeah,
I mean, that's another thing. They're not even picking those kind of players because they think they're good enough for the first team. But if they're not good enough for the first team, we can sell them to a team
yeah, yeah,
in the second division or somewhere else. So the money in the economy is, I mean, it's maybe, I mean, in my opinion, the situation gets more frustrated with all the fans. I mean, I'm an Aberdeen supporter, and if I look at the club now over there, I mean, Stephen Glass gets out. He made some mistakes by taking the Scottish guy, what's his name again, from Celtic, Scott Brown. They
yeah,
were friends at Hips. I mean, don't take friends with you and then make him assistant manager as well and player.
yeah,
But you've got an American who is the owner of Aberdeen.
yeah,
You've got who is the owner of Arsenal. I mean, if Paris
Man
Saint-Germain
United.
if Paris Saint-Germain loses 3 games,
Yeah.
they take another they take another coach. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got now so much money from people who don't even understand
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah. The things change. Football is a different business. By the way, one interesting question for you. Try to guess. Who do you think was the last player to wear number 14 at Ajax, a number 14 shirt? The player that I had the privilege to interview in here. He was the last player to wear number 14, Ajax number 14. Portuguese. Do you remember?
But what?
Yeah, Portuguese.
Portuguese?
Yes.
Was it a Portuguese player who played for
Yes.
Ajax?
Yes, played for Ajax in the 2000s. He's now 44, I think. He's now 44, so he played like in the 2000s, yeah. The beginning of 2000s. Yes, number 14, left foot.
Left foot is always good.
Yeah, always good and technically brilliant. Yes. You remember Danny?
Oh, Danny, the little one.
Yes.
Yes, good player.
Very good player and a great person. It's fantastic.
But where is he playing now? Because he didn't made it by Ajax, eh?
No, he never. He finished his career with 27, quite early for his decision.
Something went wrong, eh?
No, it was like he played for Atletico Madrid after Ajax. He played.
I know.
Yeah, played for West Ham before, and he decided to quit because But he was a brilliant player. He was the best player. He was brilliant, and he's a fantastic guy. Now he's the best commentator. He's the best commentator in Portuguese TV. I told him it's great.
He's now working for the television.
Yes, he works for television, but he still have many connections there in Holland, and he goes there also. I saw an interview that he gave to Ajax channel, so yeah. So he's also a great guy, and he tells fantastic things about Dutch football.
Yeah.
Even in learning, although in Portugal we are very technical players, also we have very technical players. He said he was learning a lot of things.
Yeah, well, in Holland it's more the combination part is more important, and the pressure. Yeah. I mean, you know how Dutch are. Dutch are arrogant. Dutch have a big mouth, and they want to control they want to be in control of the game. So we always push forward. Which started with Johan Cruyff and Marinus Michels.
Yeah.
We had a bit dip in the early 70s, but we always played on that level. I mean, we had a couple of, in '88 with Ruud Gullit and Van Basten and Rijkaard and all those players. I mean, we won the. Yeah, that's quality. Portugal have good players as well. Germany. But for a small country like Holland.
But Holland was fantastic, though.
And we've got some good players still coming up. Let's see how the young boys from AZ do in Italy, or where are they playing?
And I wanted also to ask you one thing that obviously I was growing watching Dutch players, like great players, like you mentioned, some of them. Marco van Basten all of them were legends, and then Seedorf, you had Davids, you had plenty players, Van der Vaart, you had Schneider.
Van Persie,
Dennis Bergkamp, that was like fantastic. One of my favorites, Arjen Robben, that is for me is like great play. It was a great play. Yeah. So now the new generations, it's interesting because you see them, the best players, they came from Ajax when Ajax went to the final of the
correct.
Yeah, and what happened? None of them they could just go to another country, to another club, and be so important like usually the Dutch players used to be. Like Ronaldo in Barcelona. So we have examples of Donny van de Beek, for example, that he went to Manchester United. He couldn't
Manchester United.
Yeah, now Everton.
There are two situations who are really important in this matter.
Yeah.
The Dutch league is developing as a Mickey Mouse league. You've got 3 or 4 good teams,
Yeah.
and the rest. I mean, I've seen games. No, it's. I mean, if I did something, those kind of actions in a game or in a training session, let me put it this way: if I did what they do in the game now, and I would do that in a training session, the coach would come to me and say, "Well, Theo, you have a bad day.
Yeah.
Take a shower
Yeah.
and try tomorrow."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it goes. I mean, simple balls. I mean, the situation, and even you've got the left side and the right side, the left and the right.
Yeah.
I mean, every team on the right side, from the 9th until the 18th, disaster. Disaster. If they play together, I mean, I'm not even going to watch it.
Yeah.
There are
That's true.
there's a couple of games who are really interested. That's Ajax, that's PSV, that's Feyenoord, that's AZ, that's Twente at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's it really. And saying that, FC Twente is not playing that really good football, but they've got a system sorted out
Yeah.
that is really difficult to win against them. It's not even nice to watch, but they take a lot of points out of the games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's interesting also that the league have many goals. So it's a league. It's one of the European leagues with more goals. So
yeah,
that can be exciting. That
so
fact,
you've got yeah.
but
So you've
also
got a
show
couple
that
of teams. You've got a
yeah,
couple of teams who are really they are average. You've got 2 teams who
yeah,
are really good. That's PSV and Ajax.
yeah,
Then you got Feyenoord, AZ, Twente who are average, but I mean they're playing the Conference League now, the semi-final
yeah,
against Marseille, Feyenoord. So I mean, let's see. I mean, the UEFA is doesn't know it anymore as well, because when I started, we had a European Cup 1, a 2, and UEFA Cup.
yeah, and the cup,
And now you've got a Champions League,
Europa
and
League, Conference
you've got
League,
the Europa League, you've got
Conference League.
how many leagues have you got?
Now,
Conference League.
yeah, you have three. But at the time, you had UEFA Cup and you had the
Yeah,
Cups Winners' Cup.
yeah, but
Um,
we never played in how do you say that
Cup Winners' Cup
now now you have if you win
Conference
a
League.
game, you come in a group stage. In the group
Yeah,
stage,
yeah,
then
yeah,
you play 6 games.
yeah,
Now with us, it was always a knockout system from the start till the end.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
had 6 games and you were in the final, or
yeah,
not.
yeah. And you
Now
could play, and
you
you could
get
play
the
only
three
one game.
primary rounds. Then
Yeah,
you make it in in the group 1. Then
yeah,
you won. Then you maybe take it to the stage group 2. Then you come in the quarterfinal.
yeah.
So when you win the final, you play 12 games.
12 games, and at least you have 6 games guaranteed that you are going to play that season. Uh,
Yeah,
in your time, it was like if you're knocked out in the first
that's
round,
it.
you had to wait for the next year.
Yeah, next
And
year
luckily,
when you're lucky, when you're good enough in the league.
yeah, of course, yeah, for sure.
But there's another thing what changed as well in Holland. When I played, every international top players played in the Dutch league. I can come with Romario,
Oh yeah,
Ronaldo, Erik
Ronaldo.
Gerrits,
Yeah,
all those players.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Rijkaard played. He was not a foreigner, but he played in the league until he was 24.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Van Basten, the Koeman, Erwin and Ronald.
yeah.
They played
Was
first 5, 6 years in the league. Ivan Nielsen, the Danish guy.
Yeah.
Patterson, the Swede or the Danish guy with Feyenoord.
Yeah.
And every team, every top team had top players. Govanec with PSV.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they did. They started their career in Holland. They didn't
Yeah.
finish it.
But they
Now,
start.
and then from Holland, they played 2 or 3 years there, and then Romario goes to Barcelona. Ronaldo
Yeah.
goes to Barcelona.
Yeah.
Erik Gerrits goes to. Van Persie, which I do. Okay, what was the other striker of Man United?
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah, Van Nistelrooy from PSV, Man U.
Yeah.
Van Persie to Arsenal. You
Yeah.
had Giovanni Van Bronckhorst went to Rangers.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
from Rangers to Arsenal, and from Arsenal to Barcelona. But the
Yeah.
first 7 years they played in the Dutch league.
Yes, that's true.
And now most rubbish come in the league.
Yeah.
They
That's
can't
true.
make it somewhere else. They got good agents. The Dutch league, I mean, you can probably sell any team, any player in the Dutch team, if you got good connections. And I've seen a lot of players, and I mean, okay, what the heck are they doing there?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting now. I remember a player because you've been telling that about to go to Portugal, and like I said, we don't have the resources to pay for good Dutch players when they are young. There is one exception. So because obviously we had Pierre Van Hooijdonk in Benfica, but he was already in the end of his career. We had Ricky van Wolfswinkel in Sporting. He was quite young, but he wasn't not the top player. But we had a player with I think his story is like unique because he came, I believe, from the amateur leagues in Holland. He went to Portugal. That is Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
Yeah, Jimmy. He did good.
Oh, Jimmy did very well because he went to a very small Portuguese club and then
surprisingly, Nuno.
I met him in person. And then he went Atletico Madrid, Leeds United, Atletico Leeds, I think, and then Chelsea. And
Chelsea did really good in Chelsea.
Yeah, that's true. Outside the Stamford Bridge, there is like a poster with Jimmy Floyd outside, and and he went to the national team. So that was a very rare case of a Dutch player that started,
started lowly and just grew gently towards and adjusted to the new situation he came in, and he had the ability to adjust and pick up
because I don't
the
think
level of the other teams
when he left Holland. So you were not you guys didn't know him. No, he was not a player.
I know about Jimmy Hasselbank, but I mean not personally. I mean, I heard his name.
Okay. But in
I
general,
mean, he couldn't make it in Holland. That's the issue. He couldn't make it in Holland.
Yeah, but he made it.
But that doesn't mean you can make it. I mean, Jimmy Floyd is living proof of if you don't make it in Holland.
Yes,
you can be a really lucky guy.
Oh yeah, really lucky and great player.
Brilliant player he was.
Yeah.
Lethal. He was lethal in front of the goal.
Oh, he was lethal. He was just great. What a powerful shot! I watched him play many times live because I was there in the youth teams of Boa Vista, and he was in the senior squad. And he was a great guy. He was fantastic to watch.
Yeah. He looks. I don't know him personally, but he looks really.
Oh yeah, he's very easygoing guy.
Yeah.
So also the fact that I would like to ask you. You guys from Dutch guys, you speak fluently English, as we all know, because your educational system it's great in that aspect, and you learn since young age. That's also a great thing for the players to. It makes it much easier to the adaptation to other countries. You can go anywhere in the world, and you can with English pretty much you can make it. So, do you think that's fact? Also, the clubs should have more in consideration the fact that the language can always help. And even with German, for example, it's a bit similar with German. The language you adapt easily to German.
Yeah, I mean, That's an issue also at most clubs in Holland as well. If a foreign player comes in, yeah,
Yeah.
the first thing they have to learn is Dutch.
Okay.
I said, well, what? And that's, I mean, I'm always thinking further,
Yeah.
probably. I
Yeah.
said, why do you want to teach him Dutch? Nobody speaks Dutch in the world.
Yes. That's
Let
true.
him speak English. Let him learn English.
Yeah.
Then he's got. I mean, if you learn him English, he can play in Germany, he can play in Spain, he can play in England, he can play almost everywhere because all the people in the world are actually understandable a bit by
Sure.
the English language. But if you learn him Dutch instead of English,
You don't
and
go
he
anywhere.
goes to Germany, he has to learn Germany.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's true.
I mean, I always had a laugh with those guys. I mean, those teachers coming in. And then I said, well, oh, are you going to teach him Dutch? Okay, for what? Yeah, well, then he can talk with the players. Yeah, but if he speaks, every player in the dressing room speaks English. So why
Yeah.
don't you teach him English? And because then he's got something to do in later life as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to
That's true.
forget. If he's moving back to Spain or America or England, I mean, he will forget the Dutch language in 2 months.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
has to learn English. It didn't make sense. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
a practical guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and those kind
Okay.
of things.
If the player stays 2, 3 years, okay, that's okay. And also if you have initiative to learn the language, but some in these days, we know that players they move after 1 year, and it's easier
Yeah.
to sell the player
Yes.
if he speaks English than if he speaks Dutch.
Yeah. I mean, you know how it goes. I mean, they give him a new contract for 3 years and they sell him in the summer.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes
You
in the
still
winter
have a
months.
1 year deal or an option year. Okay, we're going to sign you a new contract, 3 years. At
Yeah,
the end, before they already gave him a 3 year deal, they already were going to sell him towards that team. It's all business
that's business. Yeah, and with the
because
coach, I would say
otherwise they wouldn't take a chance to give him a 3 year deal.
that's true. That's true. And just because I was talking to a friend a few days ago, and you are a coach, if you go to Brazil to coach, they give you
Yeah,
3 years contract, and sometimes you stay only one game. So
one game and then you.
yeah, yeah, I believe the coach that stayed longer in Brazil in coaching a team was in history was 3 years.
Yeah,
Uh, but now I think the coach that is now the Portuguese coach that is there in Palmeiras that he won 2 Libertadores is there
right.
for 1 year and 3 months and is already
Yeah,
the second with longer in the position. So
right.
for you to imagine, so in the
All
third
right.
in the third round of the league, I think
Yeah.
half of the coaches already sacked. So yeah, that's a
Oh,
reality. So football is
right.
like that. So we are almost finished, Theo. And
Right.
yeah, so finally the World Cup is coming, and after having missing the 2018 edition, Netherlands obviously now are back. And what
Yeah.
are your expectations for the national team led by Louis van Gaal?
Well, I don't think they have a problem of making the first group stage. I mean,
Yeah,
they would probably win.
yeah,
That means, I mean, I don't have the schedule in front of me. I've got no idea they're gonna play against. It's probably a number 2 or a number 3.
yeah,
So it's all about. Uh, if I say, well, the more surprises there is, one of the good teams have a bigger chance to win, and it's the one who's consistent probably gonna win the
yeah,
European Cup. And I mean, you've got Holland. I don't see them win the game. It's too defensive. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, Memphis Depay. He just give him a ball
yeah,
and give the other 10 players also a ball. Then he can play with his own ball.
Yeah, yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
It will be interesting. It will be interesting. I don't know if you know also that there was a Portugal Holland, I think in 2006. I think that was the match with more cards in European I think it was a World Cup or European Cup with more
Yeah.
cards. I don't know how many yellow cards. I think 4 red cards, something like that. It
Oh, it was a nice game.
Yeah, it was that one where Belarus was hitting Ronaldo on his leg.
All
Mm.
right.
Yeah, it was the match in that had more cards in the national team's history. So yeah,
Oh.
that's interesting. So finally, what's your future plans and that you have for your career? If you can share with us, please.
Well, it depends. I'm just living in a day. I mean, I've got no company. I'm
Okay,
trying to build up. I mean, just started. I mean, I went to Canada. I did some camps there.
okay,
So what I'm gonna do is after the holidays, we're gonna start up again.
okay.
The 5 6 days. I've got some contacts who wants to make a deal with me with helping the coaches to have a. So then I'll be involved in helping the coaches and give them good training sessions.
Yeah.
That's what I do now. I'm going to try to do some summer camps again in Canada. See how the situation is going on there. The trying to go to Uganda the
Okay.
end of the year.
We had a former player from Canada here in the show, uh,
Oh
uh, Alex Bunbury. I don't know if you remember him.
no,
Yeah, he was a striker, but from Uganda we never had any any former player. Maybe
no,
maybe we need to find one. Yeah.
no.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe I'll find one for you.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's for sure. And
No,
yeah,
no,
and
I'm just going
the
there for
talisman.
2 weeks and do some camps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
then I
really
go back and I'm trying to get something organized with the local teams here as well because it's not going that far. So I'm just and if something other special things coming up in scouting or coaching or whatever, I mean I'm still ready to rock and roll.
of course.
I mean, I'm not stuck into my business. I can do both things. I mean, if
Yeah,
there's a possibility of me going somewhere and perform on the highest level as a coach on youth football or senior football, I'm taking the chance. I mean, if it's really interesting, I mean, I'm 75, but I want to still be in the game for more than 20 years.
are you 75? No.
57.
Ah,
Yeah.
75. No.
Yeah, yeah, 57.
Yeah, yeah, 57. It's a bit different. It's no, it's just the other way around, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's,
So,
I mean, I've got a lot of things in my head and see what's coming up. I mean, life is a journey, Nuno.
oh yeah,
When you open up a new door, you never know what's going to expect.
that's true. That's true. That's fantastic. For sure, we'll be in touch. It's for me, it's a big pleasure because, like I said, I was following your career as a player. Also, I always admired you. So it's great to have you in
Yeah,
here. Also, if you
yeah,
need, you have the doors open also for Soccer Hub. The
yeah,
doors are always open for you. So
yeah.
thanks a lot for sharing your knowledge with us.
Yeah, pleasure, pleasure.
Thanks. My pleasure, our pleasure. And guys, also share with your friends and
Right.
to watch this great interview and this
Yeah,
conversation. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed as much as me. So yeah, so see you next time, and all the best. See you. Be safe. That's the most important thing in these days. Okay.
yes. Thank you.
So
Yes, of
so
course.
much.
I mean, we know there's a lot of,
Yeah,
yeah, well, how did you explain it?
so many
The
things
world
going
is
on.
getting crazy. Let me put it this way.
Yeah, that's true. So take care. Be safe,
Take
and guys,
care, Nuno. Hope to see you again sometime.
for sure we
All
will.
right.
Thanks.
All
Bye.
right. All right.
Bye.
Thank you.